Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Bhante.
Today, I want to start with this discourse, as I mentioned. That is Sutta number 22 in Majjhima Nikaya. That's called in Pali Alagaddupama Sutta, the simile of the snake. This is very famous discourse. I think many people have studied this and discussed the contents in this sutta, because it is very important discourse. So when Buddha was living in Jeta's Grove in the park of Anathapindika, there was a monk called Arittha. He was formerly a vulture killer, and he had a certain misunderstanding of the Buddha's teaching. His misunderstanding is, as I understand the Dhamma taught by the Blessed One, those things called obstructions by the Blessed One are not able to obstruct one who engaged in them. This is a direct confrontation, direct challenge to the Buddha's enlightenment. Buddha mentioned that whatever the Buddha said from the night he attained enlightenment till the night he passed away, in between, whatever he said is true. It cannot be otherwise. We can see this statement in Itivuttaka. Itivuttaka is another book or section of the Buddha's teaching. That means he was so affirmative of his teaching among human, divine, Brahmas and Brahmins, no one could challenge him. But Arittha was bold enough to challenge him. He must be very bold. Dhamma taught by the Buddha, Blessed One, he taught those certain things are obstructive. But those who practice Dhamma don't find any obstruction, so nothing obstructing their practice. What made him so bold? Perhaps he might have heard people who attain stream entry, once returners, as lay people. Those who attain stream entry as lay people, there are certain obstructions which have not really obstructed their attainment of stream entry. For instance, it is that Visakha attained the stream entry when she was only 7 years old. And there was a person called Isidatta, who attained the second level of enlightenment. No, Purana attained second level of enlightenment while he was enjoying sensual pleasures. And sensual pleasure, in this discourse you can see, Buddha says sensual pleasure is an obstruction to attainment of liberation. But these people have attained the state. Even in the Noble Eightfold Path, celibacy is not mentioned. Noble Eightfold Path, celibacy is not mentioned. So one can live household life and attain stream entry and even once return the state. These may be the reason for Arita to be so bold. Arita had a partial knowledge of Dhamma, not full knowledge. Because Arita did not know, even though you attain the stream entry even once eternal state, you cannot go beyond that without abandoning sensual desire. You cannot go beyond that. If you want to attain the third level of enlightenment, you must overcome your greed and hatred. Kamarag Vyapada, two fetters. You must overcome to attain the third level of enlightenment. So the Buddha is right. Buddha never made a mistake. And moreover, you can never attain Arahanthood without overcoming higher fetters. What are the higher fetters? Desire for immaterial existence, material existence, immaterial existence, then the desire, and what you call conceit, and restlessness, and ignorance. These are higher fetters. Without destroying these five higher fetters, you can never attain Arahanthood. So Arita did not know all this. Arita knew, because Arita himself was not an enlightened person. Any enlightened person has ignorance. Therefore, their conclusion is not perfect so long as they have ignorance. Arita has ignorance. Now, this is about Arita. Now, there are two similes in this discourse. So when Arita had these views, other monks, even in public he declared, he went on preaching, telling, giving lectures. Don't worry about all these obstructions, that they are not obstructing your mind, and so forth. So the monks tried to dissuade him, and they said, then these bhikkhus, desiring to detach him from that pernicious view, pressed and questioned and cross-questioned him thus, friend Arita, do not say so. Do not misrepresent the Blessed One. It is not good to misrepresent the Blessed One. The Blessed One would not speak thus. For many years, many ways, the Blessed One has stated how obstructive things are obstructions and how they are able to obstruct one who engages in them. Blessed One has stated that sensual pleasures provide little gratification and much suffering and despair, and that the danger in them is still more. So he gave many similes to explain the danger of sensual pleasure. These monks used only one of these obstructions. One obstruction is sensual pleasure. Buddha gave many obstructions. Many things have obstructions. But they use only one. And that one is explained by the Buddha with many similes, many examples. How about others? There are 10 obstructions. For each of them, there can be many more similes and detailed explanation to show how they obstruct the one who engages in them. He said, danger, the simile of skeleton. Simile of skeleton. That means simile of skeleton is made of bones. A skeleton doesn't have flesh. Suppose there is a dog very hungry, looking around, going around, looking for food. And he stops by a butcher shop. The butcher in the butcher shop scrape all the meat from bones. All meat he removes. And the bone without flesh still has blood. It is just smeared with blood. So he throws this bone smeared with blood to the dog. Dog keep licking and licking and licking to find out flesh. He can never find flesh. While he is licking, his tongue gets wounded. Then blood comes out. So he licks that. He licks his own blood. Never get his stomach filled. He can go on and on and on so long as he has blood in his body, licking this bone. How profound this simile is. Buddha said, sensual pleasure is like that. No matter you keep licking, never satisfied. That is the skeleton. Then simile is the piece of meat. Piece of meat, suppose there is a bird. He picks up a piece of meat. And there are many other birds who also like that piece. They also come and or try to grab it from him. They peck on him. So many other similar, a hawk picked a piece of meat and fly in the air. Other hawks also want to grab it. They come and peck on him, peck on him, peck on him, peck on him. He has to fly here and there. Until he drops it, they will keep attacking him. Everybody likes that piece of meat. See how deep that meaning is? Sensual pleasure is like that. Everybody wants that. Then, simile of a grass torch. Grass torch. When you have a grass torch and you move, what happens? Wind blows towards you. When you go forward, wind comes towards you. And then what happens? The flame will burn your hand or catch your clothes and you will be burned. You are consumed by the fire. You see, torch. A simile of bit of coal. There is a coal, amber, without smoke, without flame. It's a very deep pit with full of coal, burning, pit of coal. And somebody is trying to drag you into, put into that, you will struggle to escape. But it is difficult. Then simile of dream. If you remember all the sensual pleasures you have enjoyed so far, just think of them. They're all just like a dream. There is no reality in it. It is so quick in experience of joy or pleasure. I think we all have had many, many dreams in our life. Now recollect any of these dreams. Is there anything substantial in any of these dreams? Nothing. It is just a dream. Like that, Buddha gave so many similes. Borrow goods. This is also a very beautiful simile. Suppose you borrow a very expensive suit to go to attend somebody's wedding. So everybody has to be in three-piece, tie, coat, and so forth. And you borrow, you don't have much money to buy it. So you borrow from someone. And you are using it, showing off, to people, turning this way and that way, rubbing their shoulders. And then the man who loaned it to you will come behind and tap on your shoulder and say, I need this tomorrow, early morning. I have promised somebody else to loan this. How do you feel? In front of all these people, he tap on your shoulders. How do you feel? Buddha was so skillful. He was so skillful. Borrowed goods. Simile of fruit on a tree. That is another simile. Suppose there is a tree full of fruit. You like it. Good, sweet fruit, ripe. So you climb the tree and pick fruit and eat. While you are eating that fruit, another man comes behind. He cannot climb the tree, but he has an axe in his hand. He begins to cut the tree. You are on the tree. If you quickly don't get down, you will fall with the tree and hurt you, damage you. Sensual pleasure is like that. If we do not give up, we will fall with the fruit tree. Another simile, butcher's knife and block. Butcher's knife is smeared with blood. If you try to lick the blood from the knife, you got to be very careful. It can cut your tongue. Therefore, we have to be very careful. And then with the simile of the sword stake, the same. The simile of the snake's head. And in this discourse also, the simile of snake head. So these monks mentioned all these similes to Arita and said, Arita, don't tell that what the Blessed One said, obstructions, don't tell them, so don't tell people that they are not obstructing someone who engages in them. In sensual pleasure, as one example. And they could not make him change his mind. So finally they took him they went to the Buddha and complained. And Buddha sent another monk and asking him to bring Arita to him. When Arita came to the Blessed One, then Buddha asked Arita, is it true, Arita, that you say what I said, obstructions are not obstructing anyone who practices them, who engage in them? Arita did not pretend or did not deny. He said, yes, Venerable Sir. As I understand the Dhamma taught by the Blessed One, those things called obstructions by the Blessed One are not able to obstruct one who engages in them. Exactly so, Venerable Sir. Exactly so. Then Buddha reprimanded him, saying, misguided man, to whom have I ever known me to teach the Dhamma in that way? Misguided man. When Buddha wanted to reprimand somebody, the hardest word he used, harshest word is misguided. Mogha Purisa. You are not wise. You are misguided by your own thinking. Have I not stated in many ways how obstructive things are obstructions and how they are able to obstruct one engaged in them? Then Buddha gave the same similes, series of similes that the monks mentioned earlier. Then, at that time, Buddha asked the monks, bhikkhus, what do you think? Has this bhikkhu Arita, formerly of the vulture killers, kindled even a spark of wisdom in this Dhamma and discipline? A spark of wisdom, not the full wisdom, not the whole flame of wisdom, but a tiny little spark. That means, has he tasted Dhamma? Then monk said, how could he, Venerabhasa? No, Venerabhasa. When this was said, the Arita, formerly of the vulture killers, sat silent, dismayed, with shoulder drooping and head down, glum, without response. You can imagine the Arita's figure, looking down, shouldering his figure and bending down, speechless, quiet, silent, full of embarrassment. He was like this. Submitting. He submitted. Then the Buddha said, and similarly, for in many ways the Blessed One has stated, other monks also responded the same way, then repeated the same similes. The Blessed One, Buddha asked monks, have you heard me say those things were not obstructing? They again confirmed Buddha's teaching, repeating the same similes. And Buddha said, good bhikkhus, it is good that you understand the Dhamma taught by me thus. For in many ways I have stated how obstructive things are obstructions and how they are able to obstruct one who engages in them. And then he gave the same similes. And then bhikkhus, one can engage in sensual pleasures without sensual desire, without a perception of sensual desire, without thought of sensual desire. That is impossible. Can you engage in sensual desires, sensual pleasures, without sensual desire? Can you perceive sensual pleasures without sensual desire? Can you think of sensual pleasure without sensual desire? In all this, engaging, thinking, and perceiving. Engaging in sensual pleasures, perceiving sensual pleasures, and thinking of sensual pleasures. you have to have a sensual desire first. What is sensual desire? Underlying tendency. Underlying tendency, we mentioned them all earlier. I want to remind them what I said yesterday, day before yesterday. At the first day, I said there are 7 underlying tendencies. Number one of all of them is sensual desire. I mentioned fetters. Number one is sensual desire. I mentioned hindrances. Number one, sensual desire. Underlying tendency has sensual desire. Fetters have sensual desire. Hindrance has sensual desire as number one. They are always there. Why is there? Because these are the things that we have brewed all over in our mind, all in our samsara life, even in this life. So whenever we have a desire, say pleasant feeling, whenever we think of pleasant feeling, any material pleasant feeling has underlying tendency of desire. Any disappointment, pain has underlying tendency of aversion. Any equanimity has underlying tendency of delusion. So you can see raga, dosa, moha. Raga is desire, dosa is aversion, moha means confusion. Raga, dosa, moha. Pleasure, pain, neutral feeling. Pleasure has underlying tendency of greed. Pain has underlying tendency of aversion. Neutral feeling has underlying tendency of delusion, ignorance. See, these three are so equally, so correctly line up with one another. So then Buddha gave the famous simile. Alagaddupama. Actually, the snake is called Sappa, but here you use the word Alagaddupama. Alagaddupama is very venomous. It's a sort of a water snake. And so Buddha said in the discourse, you can see, okay. Here, because some misguided men learn the Dhamma. Dhamma has 9 limbs. This is called Navanga Sattu Sasana. Remember this one, Navanga Sattu Sasana. Nava means 9, Anga means limb, Sattu Sasana is Buddha's teaching. Buddha's teaching is divided into 9 limbs. 7 factors of enlightenment, 8 noble, 8 power paths, and so forth, numbers. But all of them put into these 9. What are the 9? Discourses. They call Sutta. That we are discussing Sutta, discourses. That is number 1. Number 2, stanzas. Stanzas we find in Dhammapada, for instance. Entire Dhammapada is full of stanzas. 423 stanzas. Jataka, then expositions. Vyakarana. Vyakarana means explanations, descriptions. Sansa, versus the things Gatha. So the first one actually stanzas is, although they are stanzas, but they are meant to be recited in a melodical way, reciting. Gatha means simply verses. And then exclamation. Exclamations we find in one book called Udana. Udana book has all exclamations. Sayings, the book containing sayings is called Iti Uttaka. Thus said the Buddha. Birth stories, Jataka. There are more than 1,800 or no, 1,000 stanzas in Jataka. And then commentary is called Jataka Katha. Then we have 520, 555 stories in our library. If anybody wants to see, in our library there is a this size book. This size book. You cannot hold it by hand. You have to have a stand. That book contains 500. Actually, it's not 55. There are only 545. But to make it round, 555 stories, elaborating, explaining Jataka stanzas. Then marvels, Abhuta Dhamma, marvelous things Buddha did, all marvels are mentioned there. And the last is awesome, answer to questions. There are two of them in Majjhima Nikaya called Vedalla, Chula Vedalla, Mahavedalla. Vedalla means answering questions. So all is teaching divided into these 9 categories. Therefore, they are called 9 Sattva Sasana. But having learned the Dhamma, they do not examine the meaning of these teachings with wisdom. That is a very important thing to remember. Whenever we read any part of the Buddha's teaching, we have to use our investigation, inquisitive mind, questioning to increase our wisdom. And some people learn these 9 parts of the Buddha's teaching without examining, without using their wisdom. Not examining the meaning of those teachings with wisdom, they do not gain reflective acceptance of them. Instead, they learn the Dhamma only for the sake of criticizing others and for winning in debates. And they do not experience the good for the sake of which they learn the Dhamma, those teachings. So this is what happened to Arita. Arita learned the Dhamma superficially, just little bit here and there, without using wisdom. That is why he went on telling people that those things, Buddha said, obstructions, are not obstructing people who engage in doing those things. And then he used this simile. It is very famous simile. Suppose a man needing a snake, seeking a snake, wandering in search of a snake, So a large snake and grass hits its coils or its tail. It would turn back on him and bite his hand or arms or one of the limbs. And because of that, he would come to death or deadly suffering. Why is that? Because it's wrong grasp. This simile is very important to remember. As I mentioned, there are two such similes. When we catch snake, particularly poisonous snake, we must be very, very careful. Buddha has given in this discourse how to catch a snake correctly. In order to save time, I try to mention it rather than reading all this. When you meet a snake, you have to take a stick. It's called Ajapada. Ajapada means like a goat's foot. Its hoof has divided into like this. You can see that. You take a stick which has this ending, cut it, and then why like this? You don't want to hurt the snake, don't want to kill him, but you simply want to press him down. The snake is like this. You the snake cannot move here and there. And then his head is here, then you catch the head. It cannot bite you. Buddha knew how to catch snakes. If you incorrectly catch the snake, it will turn around and bite you and cause you pain or inject a lot of venom into your bloodstream, and that cause you, make you sick, or you may even die. Does Dhamma also have poison? Why do people get poison from snakes? They use poison, snake poison, to use as medicine. Very tiny little poison, venom, they remove and they use for making medicine, sometimes diabetes, sometimes even blood pressure, we don't know. They get this poison to use as medicine. I know people collect bee venom to make medicine. I have seen them doing it. I have seen them doing very humanely without killing the bee. I saw it in Brazil. They have that a beekeeper made a little glass at this side. You know, this little wires inside, electric wires. And these all wires are joined together and connect to car battery. And put this glass in front of the beehive, the mouth of beehive box. And when the bee comes, he sits on it, then he feels the heat of the glass. When he feels the heat of the glass, he thinks this is a living being. So he stings. When he stings, the venom stays on the glass. bee does not die. Goes inside. The next bee comes and do that. Another bee, another bee, another bee. Then finally there is a layer of venom. Tiny little layer. So he take the glass and scrape the venom into a container, bottle or whatever. So he's very smart. He gets the venom without killing insects. Similarly, you can get snake venom without killing the snake. It's a very beautiful simile. Similarly, you don't kill the Dhamma, destroy the Dhamma, and get the essence of it. Learn the essence of Dhamma without distorting Dhamma. Because when you are bitten by a snake, you may be sick or you may die, all by yourself. You cannot, the snake bite that you, the poison that you got from snake bite is not contagious. You cannot spread it to others through touch, through breathing, through saliva and so forth. You can do that. It must go into the bloodstream. But, and also you die only yourself. That's in this life, you die. Next life you will not have poison, snake poison in your body. But if you poison your mind with the Dhamma or misunderstand the Dhamma, not only you will suffer, but you can poison millions of other people. You suffer not only this in this life, you suffer in many, many more lives in future. Just imagine when someone has a poisonous mind, misunderstanding, wrong view. You know, Second World War, you all remember, many of you remember. Hitler had some distorted perception. He has a poison in his mind. See how many people he killed. How many people he killed? He said Jews are to be eliminated, exterminated. And what did he do? Brought the whole world to a war, killing so many millions of people. One man's mind was poisoned with misunderstanding. Therefore, the Buddha knew this danger. If you do not understand Dhamma correctly, you can mislead many, many millions of people. And therefore, this discourse is extremely important for anybody to understand Dhamma. And secondly, once you caught the snake, extract the poison, you must let go of the snake. Don't keep it at home. So after catching the snake, you let him go. Getting the snake, what you call venom. Now, that is the snake simile. Then the second simile, Buddha gave in this discourse. That also is very wonderful. Second simile is a boat, a raft. Suppose you are on a journey and there is a large body of water or river. This side is a lot of perils, danger, wild animals, snakes, thorns, and enemies coming behind or chasing after you. And you keep running for your life. You come across this river, body of water. There is no bridge, no boat to cross the body of water. What you would do? You collect some twigs, leaves, branches, and some twines and put together and make it a temporary makeshift raft, temporary one. And then you jump on it, using your hands and legs, you swim and get across the body of water. So Buddha asked monks, bhikkhus, what would you do after crossing the body of water? Do you carry the raft on your shoulders to show your gratitude to the raft? Or you leave it on the shore or float it in the water? Leave it on the shore for somebody else to use it, or float it in the water. What is the wise thing to do? Leave it alone. Don't carry it. But when you use the raft, you have to hold it tight. And you have to make effort. By just holding the raft, it won't take you to the other side of the river. Holding it is important. But holding it, you go to use your hands and legs to swim. That means you must make effort. You have to use mindfulness to hold it properly, and you have to make effort. To do that, you have to understanding. These are the three factors I mentioned yesterday of the Noble Eightfold Path. What are three cardinal factors I mentioned? Anybody? Understanding, effort, mindfulness. Understanding, effort, and mindfulness. When you use the boat, you have to have these three. You understand how to use it. You have to make effort. And you have to be mindful. So, at the end, what would you do? You have to let go of the boat. Now, in both similes, Buddha said, use it and let it go. Like this body, our body, we have to use it. But don't cling to it. We have to use this body, but don't try to develop the thought of clinging to the body. Use the boat, but don't cling to it. Use the snake, but don't keep it. In the end, Buddha said, Kullupamaha bhikkhu dhammandesi nitaranataya no ghanataya. Because I teach the Dhamma to cross over samsara, to cross over samsaric ocean. Metaphorically, we may say samsara as an ocean. We use the Dhamma only for that purpose, but don't cling to Dhamma. Don't cling to Dhamma. Dhamma vibhikkhave pahatabba pageva adhamma. In this discourse, beautiful discourse, so many things to say. Dhamma vibhikkhave pahatabba pageva adhamma. Monks, even the Dhamma you should let go. Even the Dhamma you should let go. Let alone adhamma. Not only you must let go of Dhamma, the truth, how much more you must let go of untruth, adhamma. Dhamma is so useful, meaningful, but it is not there for us to cling. Why is that? We become fanatics. If you cling to Dhamma, we become fanatics. I want to end this. I have a friend. He became a Buddhist during Vietnam War in Vietnam. Came back, he married a girl whose father is a deacon of a church. He became a Buddhist, married a girl of a man who is a deacon of a Catholic church. And he wanted to convert everybody in father-in-law's family. He wanted to convert the father-in-law. I told him, don't try to do that. He said, no, Bhante, I want to, this Dhamma is so wonderful, wonderful, I like it. I want to convert all my father-in-law's family. I said, don't try to do that. Father-in-law, after giving his daughter to this man, he said, okay, you do whatever you want. And he built a house on his own property. So every day when he came home from work, son-in-law comes to his house, father-in-law comes to son-in-law's house to see his little grandchild. Grandchild was 4 years old boy. Because it is on the same land. Every day he came. And every day the son-in-law tries to convert the father-in-law to Buddhism. I said, man, don't try to do that. You are crazy, you follow if you want to, but don't try to convert him. No, Bhante, I want to convert him. I want to convert him. One day he came, and father-in-law, every time he came to see his grandchild, had little quarrel with the son-in-law. One day, father-in-law came to see the child, grandson, and this man straight away started trying to convert him, giving lectures to him. Father-in-law got so angry. He went home, brought a gun, and shot him in front of his daughter and grandchild. Shot him. I went to see him in the hospital. Bullet lodged in his spine. Doctors refused to remove it because he would be paralyzed if it. Still he is living with that bullet in his spine. When you become fanatics, you have to expect this kind of result. So Buddha knew that. Buddha said, follow if you want. but don't try to be fanatics. With this example, I want to end this talk. So,